I started swimming competitively at a really young age. And I swam all throughout middle school and high school and even into college. And even now, every once in a while, I hit the pool. And I learned something in high school that I want to tell you about that I think relates to Psalm 37. See, in high school, we do these incredibly difficult sets. We'd do stuff that just made you want to sit on the wall and huff and puff and rest. But what my coach made us do is after we'd finish a really hard swim, we'd have to do what he called active recovery. See, we'd hit the wall, all we'd want to do is just stay still and gasp for air. But we had to put our head back in the water and swim. Now, we wouldn't swim as hard, and you would get some rest, but what you really wanted to do was just sit idly on the wall. But what my coach knew that we didn't know necessarily or didn't want to believe in the moment is that active recovery was the best way for our bodies to get the energy back that they needed. It wasn't just sitting idly and doing nothing. It was swimming at a more reasonable pace. See, I think that this is a principle that applies to our spiritual lives as well. There's a verse in Psalm 37 that I want to read for you. It's Psalm 37, verse 7. And it says, "Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him." Now, it's easy to think that that might look like just sitting still and being idle and maybe not doing anything. And that would be a reasonable assumption, except for the fact that leading up to verse 7, David lists at least 8 things that we're supposed to be doing. He says, don't fret, don't be envious, trust in the Lord. He says that twice. Do good, dwell in the land, enjoy safe pasture, take delight, and commit your way to the Lord. See, I think that that is what it looks like to be still and to wait patiently. See, I think being still can look a lot like that active recovery I did as a swimmer in high school. It's not just sitting still, it's not just being idle. It's engaging in spiritual practices. And what it makes me think is how we view the spiritual practices kind of makes all the difference in the world. See, in some traditions, we call the spiritual practices spiritual disciplines. It gives that sense of effort and gritting our teeth. And sometimes the spiritual practices look like that. Sometimes praying and reading the scripture and serving other people and doing good really does look like hard work. You know, in other traditions, we refer to those same spiritual practices as means of grace. Ways that we actively engage God and he confers upon us grace upon grace. So I think that as we consider obeying Psalm 37, that our spiritual lives might look a lot like active recovery. Not just sitting idly, not just waiting around with nothing to do, waiting for God to act, but actively engaging the means by which God gives us his grace and his rest. I hope that you have some opportunities to rethink the way you engage God as this active recovery. It's a way of actively engaging the grace